Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Cassie. Today we have a Simon Hurley Create card we're going to be making with one of the brand new backgrounds. This background is called Happy Mail and it's a peel apart background. And then we're also going to be using a couple of sentiments from the Dudettes, but I love this stamp set because there are 3 little bodies and 3 little heads, and it gives you so many options for making different types of people to match all the people in your life. So I love that Simon did that, and it's got a lot of great sentiments in this one as well. We also have some stark white cardstock along with a couple of colors of Simon Hurley Create ink. So let's pull out this background. By peel apart, what that means is you can take little pieces out of that and you can have individual stamps. I think that is so genius that Simon has stamps like that. So we're going to take out the insides of our Misty, and I'm going to place this inside the Misty, close the door, pick up the stamp, and then I have 2 pieces of Simon Hurley Create stark white cardstock that I've trimmed down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Now, if I had been thinking originally, I would have tried to line each piece up exactly in the same spot, but I did not do that. So we'll fix that later, but what I'm going to do with this first one is I'm going to use a magic powder bag on that because I plan to do some embossing, and then I'm going to ink up my stamp using some Juicy Embossing ink by Ink on 3. So I'll close the door of the Misty, stamp that down, and you don't see anything, so you just kind of have to trust that you did a good job stamping. And then I'm going to pull in some clear embossing powder. You could use clear or white for this, or heck, you could use any color you wanted. But I'm using clear because I want that stark white cardstock to show through from the background. And this is some Brutus Monroe Icicle embossing powder. It's a fine detail clear embossing powder. So I'm just covering that. And then I'm going to heat set that till that is smooth and melted. And like I said, you don't really see a whole lot here, but you'll be able to tell when I move on to my next technique with this one. Now, like I said, I should have tried to pay attention to how I lined these up in there because I want to combine these 2 backgrounds, and you'll see what I mean here in a bit. So for this one, I have some Simon Hurley Create Triple Berry ink. This is probably one of my favorites. I say that probably about all the colors, but I love this color. It's such a beautiful pink-purple color. And I'm just going to stamp that all over that background. And I'll have to do it a couple times. This is where a stamp positioning tool comes in super, super handy if you don't get it stamped well the first time. All right, so here I'm looking at these, and the one, obviously you can't really see much, so let's change that. Here I'm going to pull in some Clear Skies Simon Hurley Create ink along with an ergonomic blender brush, and I'm going to blend that all over that background. I love Simon's inks for so many reasons. One of the reasons is you can layer these on top of each other and get darker, deeper colors. That isn't always the case with other inks, but this one is one where you can get light or dark. You can do ombre. They're awesome. So once I'm happy with the coverage that I have gotten on here, I'm going to take a clean microfiber cloth and just buff away any excess color that might be on top of that embossing powder. So this is called Emboss Resist, and here I have those 2 backgrounds. So I'm looking at those, and I'm going to still try. This isn't necessary, and I'll show you how later. I wanted those to match up so badly because I plan to combine them, but like I said, it will prove to be unnecessary later. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking some washi tape and lining those up, and then I'm going to trim off the excess. So I think I have these lined up pretty decently so that they would be sitting right on top of each other, and when I think I do, I'll, like I said, trim away the excess. And this will leave me with a little bit of a white border on both the front and the back when I attach this down to my card base. So I'm just peeling off that washi tape because that's unnecessary now too. And now I'm going to take both of those. They are sitting on top of each other, and I'm going to cut a diagonal. So they have to be together when you do this. And I'm lining those up now because I want to switch those 2 pieces so I can get 2 cards using 2 separate backgrounds together. Before we move on, let's get our card bases ready. I cut those down to 5 1/2 inches by 8 1/2 inches and then scored them at 4 1/4. And now I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Now that comes from the Dudettes, and it says sending hugs, and I love it. So I've got some navy cardstock that I've put into my Misty. I'm going to use a magic powder bag on the top and bottom because I'm going to stamp this twice because I have 2 cards to make. And then I'll use that Juicy Embossing ink again. I'm going to stamp that here. Pick up my piece and flip it and stamp it again. And then we're going to cover this with some white embossing powder. This white embossing powder is from Brutus Monroe, and that is Alabaster. It is a fine detail white embossing powder. And then I'll heat set that till that is smooth and melted. Don't worry about the magic powder bag residue, that will wipe away. So I'm going to just wipe that away now that everything is cooled down. And we're going to trim down those sentiments using our guillotine trimmer. So I'll trim both of those out. And yes, I left them good and long for a reason. Now at the insides of our card bases, I'm going to stamp out Happy Birthday Friend. These are going to be great birthday cards for either guys or gals. They're just perfect, and I'm always in need of birthday cards. All right, so this is how I'm lining them up, and I can tell they don't line up perfectly. So no big deal. We're just going to fix that by covering it. So I'm going to tape these together with a little bit of washi tape on the back, and then I will glue these down to the card bases. So I could have done this the whole time. This was just not a big deal. For some reason, I just really wanted to try and get those to line up. Not sure why. All right, so there they are, and now I'm going to grab one of the sentiment strips and just cover up the mistake. So it's that easy. So don't worry about it if you decide to make a card like this. All right, and then I'm going to stick those down at a diagonal. And yes, there is plenty poking off the edges. I wanted it that way, so that way I could get the sentiment where I wanted it. And then I'll flip those over and put those into my guillotine trimmer and trim off all of the excess on both of those cards. And when I'm done with that, that's going to finish off these cards. They were super simple, and think of all the color combos you could make doing this, even with lots of different backgrounds. So much fun. So if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.